right. Good Wednesday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Wednesday. I am your meteorologist, Peterson. Let's go on and talk about the weather for your Wednesday evening going into your future. We have some stuff that we are going to talk about tonight. We will be talking about obviously Hurricane Aaron and what that has to do in the rest of the tropics. We also will be talking about the flood risk and the scattered shower and storm activity, and then we'll also take a look back at those cooler than average temperatures as well. So pretty much almost a repeat of last night, just with more up to date information. If you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button, make sure you go in and do so. We are at 500 and I believe 78. 578. We're two away from 580, and then we are 22 away from 600. So let's go on and get there. One more thing before we go on and get started is we've made it to Wednesday evening, means that we are halfway done with the week. Halfway done with the week. We only have Thursday and Friday left, and we will be at the weekend. But let's go on now and talk about the weather. So looking at the current conditions right now throughout South Carolina, you see that we do have some rainfall activity that goes on. It's up here relatively in the upstate. It goes from kind of near like the South Carolina, North Carolina border over here, just to the west of Gray Court. We have some shower activity over here. But other than that, that's all that I can really see for now. If we go and look at what's going on throughout the entire U.S., rainfall activity goes in from Massachusetts, from Connecticut to New York to New Jersey. Pennsylvania has some of that rainfall activity, as well as West Virginia and Virginia. North Carolina has some rainfall activity, as well as Tennessee going into Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Rainfall and severe thunderstorms going on in Montana. Rainfall also going on from Wyoming down through the Four Corners region into Texas. Going into our cloud cover for right now, you can see the outer bands, or kind of like the outer cloud bands of Aaron moving their way in. You can see it moving through Florence, moving through the Low Country, the Tri-County region. You can see it's moving through Myrtle Beach, and you kind of see that line will kind of move west. And you can also see some cloud cover already up there, not associated with Aaron at all, up there in the upstate. And if we go in and look at that cloud cover for the future, you can see that cloud cover will continue to kind of move its way more and more. It looks almost like it's going to move west a little bit, but then it's going to kind of just stay stationary in like the same area from like the Tri-County into the Midlands, and then also inside of the Grand Strand and PD region. It's kind of like staying stationary. It's not moving too much further west after that. And then it'll move its way out of here. And then we also just have cloud cover, just regular cloud cover from the upstate down into the western Midlands and northern Midlands. Now for our current temperatures: 80 inside of Columbia, 79 in Orangeburg, 79 in Somerville, and even 78 in Sumter, 77 in Hartsville, and 78 in Florence, 78 in Conway, 79 in Murrells Inlet, as well as 80 in Myrtle Beach, 79 in North Myrtle Beach, and even 81 in Charleston and Aiken, 81 in Greenwood, as well as even 78 in Newberry, 81 in Beaufort. We also do have around, they're going to move this up, I believe that is around 79 in Lawrence, 78 in Anderson, and 77 in Clemson, 76 in Greenville, and also up here in Spartanburg, 78, Gaffney, 78. Same thing for most of us up there. Low temperatures for tonight: 71 in Greenville, 70 in Spartanburg and Rock Hill, 70 in Winsboro, and even 71 in Greenwood, 71 in Aiken, and 72 in Columbia, 72 in Orangeburg, and 71 in Walterboro, 77 in Hilton Head Island, and even 76 in Charleston, 74 in Moncks Corner, 73 in Georgetown, 74 in Myrtle Beach, and even 72 in Florence. Now for our rainfall for tonight. Rainfall, for the most part, is going to stay isolated to scattered. You're not seeing anything too widespread, like you can see here on your screen right now. 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch goes for Spartanburg, goes for Aiken, goes for Hilton Head Island, goes for Charleston. 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch goes for Anderson and Barnwell, and then maybe even a quarter of an inch to a half an inch goes into Greenville as well. Somebody might even potentially get an inch to an inch and a half of rainfall as we move through tonight into tomorrow night. It's possible. It's possible. So make sure that you are paying attention for that. Also, rainfall just in general is not only just confined to the location that I called out. Just because your location not highlighted, like there's a bunch of locations like up there in the upstate, for example, like Clemson that could potentially receive rainfall. Up there in the Gaffney that could potentially receive rainfall. Just because it's not highlighted does not mean that you will not receive any sort of any rainfall at all. But those are just the areas. The crazy score for tonight, we're at a 16. So this is not going to really be too much tonight. It's going to be mostly dry. The only reason why we're inside that mild category is because of the cloudy conditions that will continue as we move through into tonight. So other than that, I mean, that's kind of the main reason or the main area of concern. I mean, fog also is a pretty big area of concern as well, but it's patchy fog and it's possible, so it's not expected. Going on to the SPC outlook, this was, I believe, updated at 3 o'clock p.m. They don't I don't know why they update it like always right after I go live, and so I have to keep on going back to see if they updated it. So here's the new up-to-date one, which actually didn't really do much. But the thunderstorm risk goes all the way up here inside of the upstate of South Carolina. It goes from Greenville, Spartanburg included, Anderson, Clemson going up into Gaffney. These places have a chance for a thunderstorm tonight. Tomorrow, thunderstorms are possible for the entire state. Yes, everyone will have a shot for a thunderstorm tomorrow. If the convection gets going, everyone will have a shot. Same thing for Friday as well. Friday, everyone will have a shot for a thunderstorm, as those ingredients are favorable for one. Now for excessive rainfall, we do have some minor flooding that's possible up there in the upstate tonight, even though I believe that may go away soon. I think that'll probably go away in the next update, because, I mean, I just looked at the models. Models aren't really looking too, like, intriguing for it, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Tomorrow, though, things obviously change as we have more of a kind of like a more widespread risk, but it takes over the entire upstate, takes over the northern Midlands, over into the central Midlands as well. That is for, again, minor flooding or isolated flash flooding. And if you go into day 3, this is Friday. Friday, we have a chance for some minor flooding that goes from the upstate down through the Midlands, down into the low country, also inside of the western Grand Strand and PD region. Minor flooding is possible there. Day 4 for Saturday. Saturday, we also have another risk of minor flooding or isolated flash flooding that goes from the upstate again down towards that coastal region, from the entire low country all the way over into that Grand Strand region again. And you can pretty much guess what's going to happen on day 5. It's going to be more reduced, but still minor flooding is possible as we go into that Sunday time frame. And this is obviously for the parts of the upstate, from Greenville to Spartanburg to Clemson to Anderson to Gaffney to York, etc. So flash flooding, isolated flash flooding will be possible pretty much for the rest of the days this week, going into even early next week. So let's go on now and look at the models. We're going to look at the one for tonight first. So we're going to start off here 9 o'clock p.m. You can see this is at least close to an accurate representation of what's going on. You see that there may still be some isolated activity that might happen later tonight near like the coastal Horry County region, near Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, for example, as obviously some like rain convection. You know, obviously Aaron's like 400 miles away, but you never, it could definitely produce some of that shower activity even that far. But again, isolated. You're not going to feel any tropical storm force winds or anything like that. It's just going to be a regular shower at that point. And that's possible as you get into, probably end around like midnight-ish. But once you get to midnight, you're not seeing any sort of rainfall activity. Yes, you may have a couple here and there throughout like the night, maybe around like 5, 6 a.m. over there. Like I saw some in Aiken County. But that's all that I saw that's really just standing out. Continuing through all the way to 7 to 8, 9 a.m. Shower activity maybe starting to push into the upstate, but again, very isolated and just very light. And you're not looking at anything widespread, nothing too heavy. Then once we get to around 1 p.m. for our afternoon time frame, it's looking like, again, mostly dry. If we continue and talk about what's going on throughout, this is tomorrow afternoon going into the 22nd, that rainfall activity starts to pick up a lot more, and that's, I believe, where that isolated flash flood risk comes for tomorrow, where we do, in fact, have a risk for heavy shower, heavy thunderstorm activity to go on all the way through to 4, 5, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. as well. And then you also do have some going inside of the low country as well by around 4, 5, 6, 7 p.m. shower activity moving through there. Then by 8 to 9 to 10 p.m. gets reduced a little bit more. It gets reduced a little bit more, and we're actually seeing some relatively dry conditions by around 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. But once you get to around that 3 to 4 a.m. time frame, things start to kick right back up again with more shower and downpour, potentially thunderstorm activity. And then just for the most part, it just kicks off and does the same thing over and over and over again. So for the most part, everything that I summed up tonight's going to be relatively dry, even going into tomorrow morning and tomorrow during like the early afternoon, relatively dry. But as you go into like the late evening or even the early evening tomorrow, that's when things will start to hit the fan and things will start to get a little bit more on the more active side. As we go into our long-term future now, this is the GFS right here. As you go in and push this forward, you can see pretty much what I was talking about. It's going to be active. We're actually going to have a low pressure. Obviously, that moves through because the 22nd, I've been talking about this storm system that could move through, and it's bringing us obviously some thunderstorm activity and some excessive rainfall. That low pressure is going to move out to sea, and it's probably going to try and do something, obviously, over those hot waters, but it's going to move its way out of our area relatively quickly, and it's going to become relatively quiet for a good amount. You see the high pressure right there to our north inside of Virginia around August the 28th, and you can see that we're staying relatively dry throughout the last part of August. Will we see rainfall? Probably. Will it be a lot? Probably not. Once we start off September, though, things start to get a little bit more active around like September 1st, September the 2nd. But again, that's over 300 hours out, so we really can't say too much for that for now. We're just going to have to continue to wait for stuff to develop a little bit more to really dive into that. But it seems like that we might start to get some active activity as we start off September, which it was complete flip from what we thought, especially from the models going back not only probably yesterday and a couple of days before, to where September looked relatively quiet to start off. Now it's looking like it might be a little bit more active to start off. So we'll continue to monitor that, though. Another thing I want to look at real quick is the Climate Prediction Center. And that is because if you were on the forecast last night, you remember we were talking about, obviously, all of this temperature decrease that we might be in. So as we go on and look at it, go and get all this stuff off right here. 6 to 10 day temperature outlooks for August the 26th through August the 30th. Below average temperatures, pretty much we're starting to get more into that likely category. We're starting to get into that likely category of seeing some below average temperatures to end off August. And for sure, they will definitely have some below average temperatures from like the Midwest into the Ohio Valley, down into Tennessee, over into Missouri and Kansas. But just to focus on South Carolina, we most likely will have some below average temperatures to move through right around August the 26th through the 30th. And if you go through the next 8 to 14 days, same thing, below average temperatures are going to be here to start off September, hopefully, for the people that want those cooler than average temperatures. And then for precipitation, though, precipitation obviously is not the main concern with this. I mean, yes, we might have some above average rainfall, but it's going to be relatively along the coastal region and then maybe a bit inland. And then for the next 8 to 14 days, again, it's there, but it's nothing too kind of convincing for now. I mean, that's only like a 30% chance of some above average. And I believe that is about, at least from what I can see, pretty much all that really needs to be talked about for now. There, I do want to say, for the people that probably are going to be asking, what is it? When is that cool down going to start? 'Cause I know somebody might ask that. If you start off though, it's gonna start. I mean, it's already gonna start feeling cooler by around August the 22nd, going into the 23rd. I mean, that is Friday going into Saturday, and you can see that there goes that cold front. The cold front hasn't even arrived yet, mind you. It's already cooler, and the cold front hasn't even arrived yet. Cold front moves in around like Sunday night, Monday morning. You can see it all the way up there, and it pushes through, and it brings us some cooler than average temperatures for next week. And next week is going to be glorious, absolutely glorious for the people who want those cooler temperatures as we move into next week. Now, shaded temperatures, obviously, it's not going to be winter-like, but for anybody that would want a cool down, or anybody that really wanted to cool down, probably would not mind if temperatures, for at least high temperatures, would be in the low 80s, which is what it looks like for the most part. This is high temperatures right here for August the 28th, around high 70s, low 80s. Continuing through, low temperatures going down into the 60s, and then same thing in the 80s. And then as we start off September, I apologize, but obviously we got to warm back up still before. And I mean, you're going to have some temperatures back into the 90s by the time we get into around the first day of September, like in the low country in the 90s, in the Midlands in the 90s, in the PD in the 90s. So it's not going to last too long. But if I continue to push this forward even more, all the way through, I mean, just way cooler. But obviously those warmer temperatures will return for the most part. But that's all I want to say in terms of the cooler temperatures. I'm going to go on now and talk about the tropics, because we now have two areas that are now not only inside the moderate area, or kind of like the middle area to form that orange area, but you also have a high chance for one forming. And so before we get to those two, though, we got to talk about Erin first. Erin, 110 miles per hour right now. So it is intensifying. It is indeed strengthening, but it's kind of compacted a little bit more. And obviously that wind span, or that wind, I should say, like the wind field, is expanding with it. And if you go on and look at my screen, you can see this is what Erin looks like right now. There it is, as it's bringing some cloud cover / those tropical storm force conditions into the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The discussion on it right now says Erin is expected to produce that life-threatening surf and rip currents along the beaches of the Bahamas, much of the east coast of the United States, Bermuda, and Atlantic Canada during the next several days. Beachgoers in those areas should follow advice from lifeguards, local authorities, and beach warning flags. Storm surge, flooding, and tropical storm conditions are expected in North Carolina Outer Banks beginning later today and lasting through Thursday. The storm surge will be accompanied with large waves, leading to significant beach erosion and overwash, make some roads impassable. Tropical storm conditions are expected on Thursday, also along the Virginia coast. So not only North Carolina will have some tropical storm force conditions, but the Virginia coast will also have some tropical storm force conditions as well. Wind gusts and the tropical storm force are likely along portions of the remainder of the U.S. Mid-Atlantic and the southern New England coast for Thursday into Friday. So that expands from Virginia all the way up into Delaware and Maryland as well. It also says that tropical storm conditions are possible on Bermuda on Thursday and Friday. So this will cause a lot of wind for places for coastal North Carolina all the way up into the southern New England region, from Connecticut to Rhode Island, etc. But what does the cone look like? That is one thing that that probably you want to see. And this is what it looks like for right now. It is showing it actually will intensify back into a major hurricane. It will intensify back into a major hurricane, which is, obviously not what we originally thought. Thought it was going to stay at Category 2, but nope. Erin does want to intensify back into a major hurricane, and it will. It will probably later tonight at this point. It also will turn back into a hurricane, though, on either Thursday night or Friday morning, one of those two time frames, and then it will stay a hurricane until finally on Saturday it will turn back into a tropical storm, and it will stay a tropical storm. No more re-intensifying, hopefully, but it shouldn't. It should not go back to a hurricane by that time frame. In terms of rip currents, obviously, rip current threat is still high for us tonight. As we go into tomorrow as well, same thing. High risk of rip currents as we move through tonight. Storm surge still going to be an issue potentially as well. I mean, 1 to 3 feet. So again, the lowest of the low, but it's still there, and it's still possible. 1 to 3 feet of storm surge possible from the South Standing River over into the South Carolina-North Carolina border. Now that is out of the way, I don't see anything else. We talked about the rip currents, we talked about the storm surge, the cone, the key details, and just anybody else. So that's it for Aaron. I'm not going to say anything else about it. We're not talking about any other models for Aaron because obviously Aaron has no threat to come to turn around and hit us or anything like that. So we're done talking about models with Aaron for now. Forever. But on to the other two areas. Disturbance 1 over here. It says near the Leeward Islands and inside of the tropical Atlantic, a tropical wave located several hundred miles east of the Leeward Islands is producing a broad area of disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity. Environmental conditions appear conducive for gradual development of the system, and a tropical depression is likely to form by this weekend while it moves near or to the north of the northern Leeward Islands. So this has a 10% chance of forming over the next 48 hours and a 70% chance of forming over the next 7 days. So this will form, most likely, into a tropical depression by this weekend. What will it do after then? Honestly, when we saw the models earlier, it didn't really show too much of a threat. It showed a little bit of a threat, potentially, to South Carolina. But now, it just completely took the northern track. Like, models almost just, like, flipped. And just were like, nah, we're gonna make it go this way at this point. So things changed, and this most likely for the most part. I mean, I don't see any other models right now that are saying that this will be impacted or impactful to us. But obviously, we have ones behind it. Like I said, Aaron and this one obviously are not the only one. There will be more, but this one in the red should most likely not cause us any sort of concern at all. Then we have the one in the orange. This one right here, Disturbance 2. This one says, a tropical wave located several hundred miles to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands continues to produce a concentrated area of shower and thunderstorm activity. Earlier satellite-derived surface wind data depicted that the system does not have a well-defined center. Environmental conditions appear marginally favorable for additional development over the next day or so, while the system moves west-southwest at around 15 miles per hour, and a short-lived tropical depression could form by the end of the week. Environmental conditions are expected to become unfavorable for further development. I had to go kind of slow for that one. But this does have a 40% chance of forming over the next 48 hours and a 40% chance of forming over the next 7 days as well. And again, this most likely will not cause us any threat. I mean, we've already said it, but just because I want to hear the applause again, let's go on and get another one. Now, obviously, we have the applause and all that kind of stuff for these ones, but that does not mean that we are done. There will be more that comes after Aaron. There will be more that comes after the one in the red. There will be more that comes after the one in the orange. Which one will finally break through? Obviously, we don't know. But for the most part, it's looking like that at least for like the short term, it looks like we're not really going to have too much going on after these pass by, but we will have more coming. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it for the short term, but for the long term, still need to be aware for. I mean, you should still be aware either way. So definitely still never put your guard down. But for now, if that red one does do as modeled, and the orange one for sure is definitely not going to do anything, we should be good for these three. But that's all for the tropics that I wanted to touch on. Let me see real quick before I move into the live audience. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. For now, it's looking like that I did not. I did not miss anything that I wanted to talk about. So let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off with Mr. Chris, who said, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Hope your day was good. Please remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button, and also share. That's a good thing. Good evening to you. Hopefully your day was great as well." And speaking of, this is a great time to go and hit the subscribe button. We have, again, 578 subscribers. We are 22 away from 600, so go and hit the share button. Share it with all the people that you know, because obviously sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. And speaking of, let's go and look at the numbers. So we've had 27 people tune in tonight and only 6 likes. I don't know what's going on there. But, obviously I can't force anyone to go and hit the like button, but it's free. You can change your mind at any time. My Aunt Lulu then says, "Good evening, everyone. Nephew, I pray that you had a great day." I did. Thank you so much for asking. Miss Chris also says, "Been seeing that Aaron is growing, not in strength, but in size." Yes, that is true. Just the wind field of Aaron is expanding a lot more, and that usually happens after, at least usually, sometimes it's kind of like almost a trend. Probably doesn't happen with all of them, but for the most part, kind of when the tropical storm / hurricane get more into like the end stage, you can kind of see that wind field will start to expand a little bit. Not in all, and obviously, not a professional with that, but sometimes what I can see is that kind of like at the end cycle, things start to kind of like grows in size. But sometimes, like I said, it could happen at the beginning, could happen at any time. My Anna then says, "Hello, Jay. Overall, a really nice day. Grass was cut yesterday. The rain was right on time." First off, glad that the grass was cut, and glad that the rain came, obviously, after you got the grass cut. Mr. Anthony then says, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you." Trail says, "Greetings, everyone. Busy, productive day. I went outside once today." Well, I feel like you will be going outside a lot next week, especially after that cold front moves through. Thad then also says, "Good evening, Joseph. I trust all is well. We managed to get 10 drops of rainfall today. I made sure to count them. 10 drops of rain is 10 drops of rain. It's better than none, so I would go in and just take them 10 drops and call it victory after that." My cousin Cheryl then says, "Hello, weatherman, and how is everyone doing this evening?" I'm doing well. Hello to you. Hope everyone enjoyed their week so far. It was a little cloudy up here in Philly. I'm listening at work. Keep up the good work, weatherman. Thank you so much for that. And I'm glad that you are listening to us while you are at work. Drill then also says, "Thank you for forecast update. Just you're an excellent job. My favorite meteorologist." Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate that message. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and give you another round of applause real quick. But that's it for the live chat. I don't see anything else. So let's go on and talk about the 4 locations outside of South Carolina, that being San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these locations is because we have people from those regions that are watching almost nightly, if not some nightly. But starting off with San Antonio first, low temperatures tonight at around 77, high temperatures tomorrow at 94, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 77 as well. Chance of thunderstorms tonight. Showers are likely tomorrow, so that's a good sign. Showers are likely tomorrow. So some rainfall is likely tomorrow. I know that's something that you definitely are looking forward to. In terms of excessive rainfall, obviously we were talking about that chance for some isolated flash flooding to go on pretty much for not only for tonight, but for tomorrow as well. And then Friday and Saturday and Sunday, things want to take a little bit of a step back. in terms of that excessive rainfall chance. For severe weather, though, no severe weather is expected either. Now for Raleigh, North Carolina, you have low temperatures tonight 72, high temperatures tomorrow at 86, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 69. No precipitation is expected at all for tonight or tomorrow. No severe weather is expected at all. And then in terms of excessive rainfall, you in fact have no risk of any sort of excessive rainfall. So you are pretty much good over there. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you have low temperatures tonight 65, high temperatures tomorrow at 72, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 60. Chance of thunderstorms tonight, a slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow during the day, but no precipitation is expected for tomorrow night. Now, for severe weather, no severe weather is expected. And then in terms of excessive rainfall, you do have a chance for some minor flooding tonight. And after that, maybe some on Sunday as well, potentially some minor flooding possible on Sunday. And that's it for Philadelphia. Now for Duncan, you have low temperatures tonight, 71, high temperatures tomorrow at 93, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 69. Interestingly enough, the Weather Prediction Center actually has you under an isolated risk of flash flooding tonight. I don't know if that maybe was from earlier. That may have just been from earlier, if I'm not mistaken, so that probably will expire. But after that, you're not seeing anything else there. So that's it for those 4 locations. Again, they take not too long at all. What's going on throughout the entire U.S. in terms of weather news-wise? Tropical storm conditions, storm surge, flooding, and coastal flooding will continue into Thursday across the Outer Banks and into portions of the Mid-Atlantic coastline. Life-threatening rip currents and high surf will continue to impact much of the Atlantic shoreline through the end of the week. Hazardous record heat will continue across the western U.S. this weekend into portions of Oregon, Washington State, Montana, Las Vegas, Southern California, most of Nevada, honestly, I should have said, and then also inside of Arizona, where record-breaking heat is potentially going to happen over there. And other than that, that's all that I pretty much have to say for tonight. We have nothing in terms of videos for tonight, no emails sent. If you want to go in and send me a picture or a video, you can by sending them to scweather360@gmail.com. Again, that is scweather360@gmail.com. And I believe that is all that we have. Again, if you haven't hit the like button or the subscribe button, you make sure to go in and do so. We're at 578, trying to get to 600. We are 2 away from 580, and we are 22 away from 600. It's free. Sharing is caring. Share it with all the people that you know. Share it on social media, whether it be Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. It does not matter. I will be back tomorrow morning with your Thursday morning forecast update. The drought monitor comes out tomorrow. Make sure that you are there and you have your predictions ready.